This conference will now be recorded.
So okay, fine, no questions. Let's start. So what you done last class is we done for the case design, and already we discussed about the properties. So we already started harness also completed. What is the harness and what are the predefined harnesses and custom harnesses, and what is harness and what is the UI hierarchy, everything is completed. And where you can refer the different type of predefined harnesses. Let's go to discuss about the sections. Section is nothing but it's a portion or area of the work object form, that is nothing but a section. I will show you then how to add the different type of layouts will be, how to add the properties into the sections, what are the predefined sections will be there. So everything we'll discuss. Suppose let's go to login your application, admin, I'll write out some secrets, password is rules, and click on login now. So if you see, let's go to run the application now. Just go to create a case. Okay. So whenever creating the case, including for user defined sections, and the flags will be processed for the predefined sections also. There are, let's click on live UI. This is one PY Studio Container tabs is one section, and Studio Header is one section, and Explorers is one section, Studio Containers, and Studio Footer. Footer is just one section here. So inside these all sections will be placed in one harness. That's a PZ Studio harness. Okay. So in the right side part, this is one section. See, this is the one section. PY case details, and this is one section. This is one layout inside this section. Nothing but the flag actions will be processed this, including user defined section, this predefined sections also. And suppose if you want to add the properties inside the section, already the section is created automatically whenever add the fields into the step level. And suppose if you want to create a section manually, you can go for user interface and create it new section. Suppose if you want to add the properties into the sections, and we have a layouts. First, already we discussed what are the type of layouts will be there in Pega. So without layouts, we can't able to include the properties into the sections. Okay, so there are three type of layouts we have. One is basic layouts. And the basic layouts is nothing but a dynamic layouts. Dynamic layouts are responsiveness. Dynamic layout, group layout, and column layouts. Dynamic column layouts. Okay. So and another one is row layouts. So these basic layouts will be supports for including for the single property in section. Suppose by using basic layouts only we can refer the single property into the section. That is the purpose of basic layouts. The row layouts is, suppose if you want to call the aggregate properties in the section, some list type and group type property in section, that time we can use for the row layouts. And Ajax. So if suppose if you want to include a section within section, okay, if you want to include the section within section, and we can use Ajax layouts. Maybe which section you are going to include, and that section will be either a different class and same class also. Suppose if you want to include a section within section, we can use the Ajax layouts. This is the purpose of layouts, that different type of layouts. So let's go to open the section here, collect claim detail section. Convert to full section editor. So this is the first in the section. This is a design tab. In the design tab only we can call the properties and all. So by using layouts, and we can call the properties, and we can include that. We can include that like within section, other sections also like that, right? So parameters It's no need to pass any parameters here. Very important ASM classes. So I will tell you what is the purpose of ASM classes in the sections. So let's go for, suppose if you want to add any something, I want to add some text input. This is the data captures. Drag and drop. Okay. So suppose if you want to refer the directory property text inputs, let's go for directly property, click on dot and refer the property email, or otherwise directly we have a data type, that is some email type, integer type, password type, or directly we can refer it. Okay, this structure is nothing but a layouts. So first three are the basic layouts, last three are ajax layouts, middle one are the uh, last three are ajax layouts, middle one is row layouts. Okay, so this is a different type of layouts now. Pickers is nothing but any drop downs if you want to populate any drop downs. Okay, so that case just refer that and refer the property, we can populate a drop down. We can use for while populating drop down what are the, and then what are the source will be required, a clipboard, data page, and report definition, we can use that. Then these are the buttons and links and all, any attachments and related. Then if it is required, we can use this. This is advanced control. Suppose if you want to add any images, okay, so any images, we can refer the path. So any some video, okay, suppose any video controls. If you want to play any video into the sections, okay. So that is what about. This is a totally advanced controls, and UI will be responsible for adding images and some uh, videos and everything. Yes, a UI specialist also will be there, and some responsibilities also that UI also involving for presenting into the screen. Okay. So as for our developer responsibility, check the inputs and outputs fully. But UI responsibility is nothing but how to develop the screens in any attractive way. Okay, that is a UI responsibility. So this is what about the introduction of sections and controls and everything. We'll discuss in coming classes and all. And this you can just go and refer it, and already mention what is the predefined classes, predefined sections in Pega. Okay, that's it. Medical cursor places the near the mouth. What are the predefined sections in Pega? These are sections you are not created. Pega systems is created these all sections. Okay, got it right. So this is what about the sections. So where you can refer the sections. Okay. Sections are referred into the within sections. Sections are referred into the fly actions. Sections are referred into the harness also. Okay. So suppose if you want to open for a check for like how to include the section fly action, this is automatically configured, right? So automatically the section is referred into the fly actions. So without flag action, is it possible to process the screens? It's not possible. Flag actions only will be process the screens. Okay, that's what the flag action is mandatory. That's it. This is what about the discussion of the sections, and some questions related. What some question like within sections, is it possible to call other sections? So within harness, is it possible to call other? Within harness, is it possible to call the sections? So these questions, and one more thing is it possible to call the harness within flaction? I will tell you, but that flaction is not completed. We'll discuss in coming classes. Okay, these are the questions. But section అడిగే questions ఎక్కువ scenario based మీద ఉంటాయి. UI లో అడిగితే కన్నా ఎక్కువ scenarios ఉంటాయి. Okay. So harness already I told you last class what are the questions you will get. Fine, let's move on to then fifth design is what? Process design. Here onwards we can start exactly what? Implementation, process design. So in process design there is some chapters will be included here. So what are the content will be there for the process designs? So we need to discuss about the activities. Okay, activities concept and different type of flow actions, and what is the flows and flow shapes. Okay, flow shapes. and another one is flow actions, flows, flow shapes, circumstance rules. So the circumstance will be works. Okay. Circumstance rules and SLAs and correspondence. Okay. Correspondence and the routing. Okay. Then what is the routing? How to transfer the request into the other operators? That is transferring purpose we can use for the routing. So these are all the concepts will be there for the under the process design. Let's discuss one by one. Okay. First we'll start the activities. So before going to start our activities, I will tell you so where you can write the activity. What is the purpose to write an activity? These are all. I will tell you the first requirement and we will go for step by step process. Okay. Then already in Japan, so we have already activity document will be there. Just to prepare, read it. And important methods also on document I prepared. Just read it that one also. We will discuss each and every method and we can implement that project only. So where you can use obj-browse, obj-open, different type of methods. So a project లో ఏ మెథడ్ ఎప్పుడు వస్తుంది అనేది మనం చెప్పలేం కాబట్టి then we'll cover all methods and can just go through that methods. Okay, that's it. Let's go for activities first of all. Okay. So first of all, what is an activity? So first I'm going to give the requirement. So what is an activities? Let's go to. Okay, first we'll discuss about an activity. Next, I will tell you what is the requirement. So activity is nothing but is a sequence structured steps like some one step, second step, third step, and fourth step, and fifth step, and so on. So what is an activity is nothing but activity is nothing but sequence structured steps. Each step calls one method or control instructions, either call or branch. So suppose if you want to do any business logic by using Java, so everything will be some coding is required. But in Pega, so there is some activities. Activities, everything is dependent to methods. Inside the methods, there is some code is executed into the backend. Okay, this is a predefined methods. So let's add it some separately methods here. Let's go for activity introduction here. So the purpose of activity is to implement the business logic. And in here, PRPC logic available in the form of methods, functions, while built-in activities in activity. Okay, so how to pass the parameters in activity and some what are the methods? Okay, so what are the some methods will be there? So we have some base methods and all. I will tell you. So activity is nothing but what? So sequence structured step. Each step call one method or control instructions, either call or patch. Suppose I'm going to create one activity now. I'm going to show you. Right click, go to create and activities is in the technical category. This is a path. Okay. So let's go to create an activity now. Some test. Create and open this. One second. One second. Okay, so suppose if you added step here, this is the sequentially as steps are added automatically. Okay, so this is nothing but activity is nothing but a sequence structured step. Each step calls one method rule or control instruction. These are the method rule. Click on down arrow. These are the method rules, and we have some control instructions either call or branch. So here my requirement is suppose where you can create an activity. Activity is nothing but implement the business logic. What is the business logic? And before going to that, and we need to understand about the each and every options. First, we'll go for page and classes. Page and classes is nothing but what are the class and what is the page you are going to create. So we need to define the class and page here. Okay. So as for the real time, and when you're going to refer the activity into the UI, so in compulsory, if you're going to apply any mapping, so the request is comes from one class and response is comes from one class. In that cases, we need to define the request class and response request page and response page here. Okay. And one more thing is parameters. Suppose if you customers or users is providing the values in runtime, right? So that's in suppose if you want to, gather the inputs to the user side. So if you want to pass the runtime values, that time we can call it as the parameters. We can pass it all parameters. If we pass the parameters, and users will be able to provide inputs. And this is a label, and we can give the some names and all. Okay, or otherwise if you don't want to execute, and we can, so like this we can, if we use this symbol and this particular method is not executed. Okay, this we can suppose if you're going to apply any jump conditions, something any exceptions, if any exceptions comes and I want to apply for jump conditions here, so that time we can use for which step you're going to jump, that step name we can define that step name. Okay, so and this be each and every method there is some preconditions, when conditions. When condition is true, and if it is true, apply this actions. If it is false, and apply these actions here. Okay, so we have some predefined when rule, some step status code and step status fail. Okay, so these are all the some predefined when rules. This is a step status code and step status fail. And if it is the when rule is true, and then one action, if it is false, one action. Jump also same thing, when rule only. Suppose where you can use jump condition is nothing but if you want to handle the exceptions. If you want to handle the exception, that time we can use a jump step. You can call that this is a transition step here. Okay. So loop, suppose if you want to run this method particular step in multiple times. Okay. So that time we can go for applying for looping. That's it. And security is nothing but suppose there is some lead will be is decide to don't want to give the access to some other operator. Suppose that operator will be not able to run the activity, nothing but the lead will be restricted. So some operator is a junior, and this is the totally related to the business logic, and that operator is not able to understand this one. I mean, he's going to restrict it. Okay, so he's not giving any access to that operator. If the manager is don't want to access the operator access to run this activity in particular operators, and we can restrict this, that manager will be restricted. That is nothing but a privileges. Suppose if you want to run this particular activity, so operator needs to some ask the privileges. Some operator is having some many privileges here, and then operator is able to run the activity, otherwise is not able to run the activity. That is nothing but a restrictions. అంటే యాక్టివిటీ ఎవరికి రన్నింగ్ ఇవ్వాలి, ఎవరు రన్ ఆప్షన్ ఇవ్వాలి, ఎవరికి ఇవ్వకూడదు అనేది మొత్తం డీటెయిల్స్ అన్నమాట. Suppose here the activity type. Suppose if you want to refer the activity in some other roles, okay, some other rules, that time we can use the activity type. Suppose if your activity type is utility, we can call this activity into flows. Suppose the activity into the notify some routing, so we can applying for route out of the box rules, some to work list, and transfer this request, this activity to some other operators. Okay, nothing but we are going to applying any routing, and that time always activity type is routing, and trigger, these are declarative rules. So that if we are going to refer the activity in some other rules, always we need to take some security permissions in the activities, otherwise we can't able to call this activity into some other rules. Okay, so this is what about the important tabs in activities. Okay, so this is what, like already I mentioned the documents in material document, go through that what is the looping and everything and all. And then my requirement is what are the different type of methods here. So we have some methods, right? We can categorize different type of methods. So we have some 8 type of methods, 7 type of methods. There are page methods, and this I prepared some document for you to understand all methods, important methods. Okay, so important methods is nothing but these are all the commonly used methods, but already we just you can click on down arrow, there is so many methods are coming drop. But as for CSA and CWSA content, and we'll cover this CSA and CWSA will be covered these methods actually. Okay, the responsibility of CSA and CWSA is in just these are the methods only. Okay, remaining or LSA type methods also will be there. And there is some page methods is one type, and property methods and show methods. So show methods is a runtime methods, and these other methods. And we have obj methods and RDB methods. Okay, obj methods and RDB methods. So very important methods is obj methods and RDB methods and other methods. But this is also very important. Sometimes we can use based on our object processing, and we can creating page copy. This is a just basic methods. That's it. Okay. So that's what, just read it, and we'll cover these all methods into the coming classes: page copy and page rename, page remove. So this is a totally for clipboard methods. Okay, suppose if you want to create any page, you can use page new. Suppose if you want to transfer the data clipboard to our page, clipboard page list to our page list, that time we can use the page copy. Page rename is nothing but, suppose if you want to rename the existing page, we can use this. Suppose if you want to delete the page, we can use the page remove. Okay, ఇవి ఏమంటారంటే జస్ట్ బేసిక్ అంటారు. ప్రాజెక్ట్లో ఎప్పుడు వస్తుందో చెప్పలేం. ఆ రిక్వైర్మెంట్ కాపింగ్ చేయాలంటే కాపింగ్ చేసుకుంటాం, రిమూవ్ డిలీట్ చేయాలంటే డిలీట్ ఎందుకు చేస్తామంటే పర్ఫార్మెన్స్ ఇంక్రీజ్ చేయడానికి. ఎక్కువ పేజెస్ అట్లా క్లిప్బోర్డ్లో పెట్టడం వల్ల ఏమవుతుంది అంటే పర్ఫార్మెన్స్ అనేది తగ్గిపోతుంది కదా. మీ బిజినెస్ లాజిక్ అయిపోయిన వెంటనే రిమూవ్ చేసేస్తాం, అది పేజ్ రిమూవ్ అనమాట, అంతే. పేజ్ సెట్ మెసేజ్ ప్రాపర్టీ పేజ్ క్లియర్, ఐ విల్ టెల్ యూ వేర్ యూ కెన్ యూస్ దిస్ సెట్టింగ్ ఫర్ ఎర్రర్ మెసేజ్ పర్పస్ వీ కెన్ యూస్. అది చెప్తున్నాను, ఈ మెథడ్స్ అన్ని విల్ డిస్కస్ ఇన్ కమింగ్ క్లాస్. జస్ట్ గో త్రూ దిస్ డాక్యుమెంట్ వైజ్. ఫస్ట్ ఆఫ్ ఆల్ ఫస్ట్ చదవండి, దెన్ విల్ డిస్కస్. బట్ విల్ స్టార్ట్ ఎగ్జాక్ట్లీ అవర్ ఇంపార్టెంట్ మెథడ్స్ ఇస్ ఫస్ట్ విల్ స్టార్ట్ ద obj మెథడ్స్. Okay, there is some obj open by handle, obj refresh lock, obj browse, and obj short, obj filter, obj save cancel, obj delete, obj validate, obj set tickets. These are all the different type of obj methods, and we have some of RDB methods also. Okay, so what the difference between obj methods and RDB methods, this one we'll discuss later. So let's go to the first method is obj-browse. Okay, I'm going to write it, and what are the methods is covered, and we'll note it on everything. And here what are the important methods. Let's example, the first method is obj methods. First I'm going to write what are the method types will be there. So what are the page methods will be there. Okay, so we have page methods, and second one is property methods. Property methods. And third one is show methods. And fourth one is the obj methods. And fifth one is the RDB methods, obj methods and RDB methods. And sixth one is the others. So others is lot of uncategorized methods. These are the different type of methods we have. First we'll go and discuss about the obj methods. Under obj methods, and what is obj-browse. First of all, obj-browse. So I will tell you the requirement for obj-browse, and what is the purpose, and where you can use for obj-browse in your project. Right, let's come to the requirement, and let's go to run the case. Till now, any questions? You're following, right? Follow అవుతున్నారు కదా?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so let's come to the requirement. So this is a new harness. We know that once click on the done, and new harness will be run the out of the box activities, and the case will be created. The case numeric value will be increased here 14002. Okay, the first requirement is, if you populated some, like there is some country, state and city, the customer belongs to country and which state and which city. So when you select the country, how to populate all states under the country. If you select the state, and how to populate all cities under the state. This is a requirement. Okay, so how to do this requirement now? Suppose if you want to do this requirement, and we can go for obj-browse method. Why obj-browse? Obj-browse is nothing but this method helps to retrieve the multiple records. But obj country is not only for single record; it's having multiple records, right? So that's what. If you want to retrieve all countries, all states, and all cities, and you can use for obj-browse method. Okay. So suppose first of all, this is a requirement. It's a this is the UI and this is the database DB and mediator. Suppose let's say example this is a UI and this is a table or DB. So we need to create a tables also. So what will happen here? If you just send a request from DB, just we can hit the data table and displaying data into the UI again. So we can just transfer the request into the DB. So the DB also will be transfer the response to the UI. Before transferring the request to DB or before transfer the response to UI, there is a mediator storage area. There is a mediator, okay, temporary memory area, that is nothing but a clipboard. So clipboard is nothing but it's one temporary memory area. Okay, so it is a collection of threads. Thread is nothing but collection of the pages. Pages contains data. Suppose I'm going to retrieving for some 100 records from the table. So all records will be retrieved and the retrieving data will be stored first of all clipboard. So the clipboard is having some predefined class and predefined page to store the all records. And what is the predefined class is code pega list is a class. Okay, under the class there is some px results page. Okay, so code pega list is a class. Under this class there is some px results is a page. So px results will be holds that n number of records, how much data you are retrieved. Okay, so if you want to display this data clipboard to UI and this in UI and in clipboard and which class and which page is holds the data, and we need to define the classes and page in UI under the page and classes, and moreover we can use the clipboard as a source while displaying the data into clipboard to UI. This is our requirement now. Okay, any questions? Fine, let's move on to how to display the data into the UI. So first thing, before going to implement, I'm going to creating data types, some tables. Okay, so the first thing, first we'll open the UI. Okay, so in the first network is right. So which card processing? Okay, so the card is like either MasterCard, some RuPay card, some Visa cards, like this, right? So that what is the network type? The type of network. Okay, let's go to the property level. Also, we can populate the drop down in property level. There is some property local list. You can select the table type. So you can give this the card type, something any some MasterCard, something any Visa card, and so on. Okay, and click on save it. You will back to here and go to change and radio buttons and click on submit it now. So see, you will get the radio buttons. Okay, click on save it. Let's go to run the case. See, so collecting this, so this in you can select any card type and we can validate it later. First we can test it this one and this is one and click on this is the first one. Let's go to implement this one, country, state and city. So what we need to do, So we need to create a tables. Okay, so how to create a tables? Suppose if you want to create any tables and go to data type explorers, as of now we created case types, everything we processing for our object, right? And go for data types explorer, we can add the tables. So click on add data type, we can add the tables here. So here we can add it to our tables. Let's example, so our table is some countries is our table. Okay, countries. So this is a data type parent class. Okay, tables parent class is SYMD. So D dash some data type name. Suppose if you are going to create case type work dash. Okay, so it is a parent class. And if you are going to create any existing data type, and click on existing data type, and we can create it. We can add the existing data type name, and we can add the new columns. This is a new data type, and that's what you can give the new label here. So click on submit it. So even like this is also one class actually. So every class is mapped to some table already, I told you, right? So work class also mapped to some table, data class also mapped to some table. This one also is mapped to some table. Okay. What is the mapping table for here is, and always the data classes are does not belongs to class group. Okay. Case types are belongs to class group, and data types are that does not belongs to class group. And there is some parent class here. If you click on test connection, is showing for PR others table. I will tell you PR underscore some others instead of others what will become. I will show you then what is the table and how to check the table in backend and all. Okay, let's go for this add the columns. What are the columns you want? We can add the columns here. So I want to add for some country only for country. Okay, so let's go for records and configuring the local source. Okay, this is a local storage area. Okay, so we can use for this internal purpose is internal table, not for external. Okay, external that is SQL or Oracle, that one we'll discuss later. Country, and set the primary key here. What is the key? Primary key. So these are automatically predefined columns will get, and already I told it create property, px create operator prefixes. So these are all the properties. It will be hold some predefined data, right? So automatically while creating the data type, automatically database also created. This is the single database, and it will be holds the list type of data. Okay, list of data will be storing into the list type database. This is a savable database. Okay, if we don't want to generate the database, and check the checkbox. Okay, we'll discuss what is the purpose of database, and where you can use, why we need to create a database in after this completion of clipboard. Okay, fine, let's go to value of first record. We can enter it. Make a records call or records mere enter చేసుకో. Let's click on value first record and click on submit it now. That's it. I set the key, and this is the record. So if you want to check that all details, then click on view details, and there is a database mapping table. మీకు పిఆర్ అదర్స్ అన్నాను కదా, పిఆర్ అదర్స్ ప్లేస్ లో మీ టేబుల్ ఉంటుంది. అక్కడ అదర్స్ దగ్గర మీ టేబుల్ వస్తుంది. పిఆర్ అండర్ స్కోర్ SYMD కార్స్ డేటా సమ్ కంట్రీస్ data. This is a class, and one report definition also created. These are the three type of database also created, and click on close. Suppose I have some 100 countries, so manual entering is not possible, right? That's what they already given some import, export and import options. If you click on export, and the file, one Excel file will be downloaded. Okay, so and suppose you can insert the data and save it. Suppose don't change this predefined columns, only this one from India, US. Just add that all countries. Okay, so we can save this, and we can import it. Click on import. It will ask the file name here. Got it, right? That's it. We can click on next, finish. That's it. This is how we'll be importing into the data. So normally real time we'll do the export and import options, but here there is some only less data, right? That's what I'm going to use manual entering here. Some other countries, India, state, and some other in UK. So click on save it now. This is the data table, countries data table is created. Let's go to create one more table is like states, right? Let's go to add data table, and I will show you this data on how to check the data in data table into the DB. Okay, how to connect the DB and where the data table will be stored. Everything we'll discuss. Let's give the this is states, right? And click on submit. In the state table, what are the columns is required? Add it. You have state, and country. Go for records and configure the source and set the country and state as the keys. Both are keys here. And the country is some India, and state some Andhra Pradesh. Okay. So same process, and all automatically data page will be generated, and click on submit it now. Yeah, this is the data, and click on save it now. Let's move on to next comment is after adding this, and we can refresh data explorer and add the one more data type is cities. In the cities table, and state as a parameter, and go for add data type and cities. Let's go to click on submit and add the columns here. Like city and state. That's it. We'll go for records and configure the source and add the keys and insert the first value entry. That what is the state and what is the city. Its example we added state is some Andhra Pradesh. Andhra Pradesh, right? So under Andhra Pradesh, what is the city? It's a some Vizag. Okay, and this is what first record entry, and click on submit it now. And what are the other states and other cities? Just add it in this table, and we can hit the table and display this data into in UI. So we need to write an activity for this business logic. Okay, suppose if you want to configure this business logic, we need an activity. So how to write an activity, I will tell you. So Andhra Pradesh, we can write one more records. So this is the data, and go to click on save it now and refresh the data type export. These are the different type of data types. So we need some other data types also. We'll create it later. As for this requirement, that's all. And we have some IFSC and Mastercard system, some tables also required. We'll do it later. So as of now, these tables is fine. Let's move on to enter into the business logic. What is the logic here? How to hit the data table and how to display the data into the UI, correct? So that is the requirement. For that, I will show you that is a mapping column, right? So let's go to here, mapping table. So countries, states, and cities. This is the path to connecting for our database, PGSQL database. But 8.5, there's a different. That's automatically if we click on login, it will loading into the internet, some Google Chrome. Okay. By new tab లో ఓపెన్ అవ్వదు, గూగుల్ క్రోమ్ లో వెబ్ పేజ్ లో ఓపెన్ అవుతుంది. దట్స్ ఇట్. దట్ ఇస్ a new change. Go for schemas and data here. So what is our table is PR underscore, right? The PR is nothing but pega rules. PC underscore is nothing but a process command. The prefix, full names, full forms. PR underscore is volume. This is a countries, states, and city. Suppose if you open for states, view data, first 100 rows or last 100 rows anymore. This is the query retrieving for data into the table. India's countries and tables and all. Sorry, countries and states. Clear, right? Let's move on to how to hit this data table and how to display the data into the UI. That's fine. So let's go to write an activity. Any question till now, guys? Yeah, fine. Let's go to write an activity. Right click, go to create technical activity. This is the path. One more, already I told you about clipboard and the tracer is also one of the debugging tool. Is very important real time. Why? Because if you want to monitoring into the background application process and everything, we can use the tracer. Okay, let's go to write an activity. First of all, I will tell you how to open the tracer. This is some get country. Okay, let's go to create and open this activity now. So use the obj-browse method. First obj-browse. obj-browse. Expand this method. So here we need to add the page. Page is nothing but, so under which page the data will be stored in clipboard. Okay. So that means a page lo data store avvali ani. That's what obj, I mean page name. Some just give any page as your wish. Just we can, I'm going to give you some countries page. So under this page, px results will be created. Countries.px results will be hold the n number of records. The class you are going to hit which table, the table name is nothing but some data class. So which table we are going to hit, that you can give the class is what, object class is the table name. Okay, that is countries. So here get row key maximum records nothing but how many records we're going to retrieve. Any some 2 records or 3 records and 4 records. ఒకవేళ మీరు ఇక్కడ 5 రికార్డ్స్ వస్తే 5 రికార్డ్సే వస్తాయి, 10 అంటే 10 వస్తాయి. మీరు ఏం మెన్షన్ చేయలేదు, ఎంటీ ఇచ్చారు అనుకోండి, మొత్తం డేటా టేబుల్లోని రికార్డ్స్ మొత్తం వస్తాయి. ఓకే, దట్ ఈస్ వాట్ ద this one. So get row key is nothing but a, suppose if you want to retrieve the data through pz dynasty, I told you last class what's the pz dynasty. We'll discuss in depth in coming classes. And uncheck this get row key. Here we can provide your column, that is country. Okay, retrieve that all countries. That's all. Click on save it. Even can debug the activity also. How to debug the activity? By using tracer. Click on trace. That activity also will trace, or otherwise here also we can open the tracer. So if we click on the tracer in activities, only activity will be traced. If we click on into the tracer here, on total application will be traced. Okay, here we can set it which rules you want to trace, and settings is there, right? So we can set it what are the rules you want to trace, we can set it. Okay, and these are all by default predefined rule sets also will be there, and I'm going to deselect all, and I want to trace only my application and my rule set only. Okay, click on OK, and clear is nothing but what are the tracer data which will be cleared. And if you want to stop the tracer, and you can click on pause, and if you want to play, we can click on the play. Breakpoints, if you want to set the breakpoints, we can set it. And watching any variables you pass in the activity, suppose if we click on watch, and we can watch the variables. And any remote tracing is nothing but, suppose if you want to trace that other operator work, other operator rules, okay, that time we'll go for remote tracing. So remote tracing is nothing but if you want to trace the other operator work object, that time we'll go for remote tracing. Suppose in your project there is some lead wants to trace your application, that time we'll go for remote trace. This is save is nothing but save the trace data, that's it. So the tracer will be opened, and in background go to activity and run it now. Go to actions and run it. So there is some click on run it here. This is successfully is nothing but there is no error message. If you're not getting successful, we'll get sometimes there is an issue. Okay, that time we can go for tracer and we can find out the errors where the exact problem. Okay, we'll get some red color indication, so where you get the problem. Okay, we can go to find out and fix it. Tracer is very it's nothing but very important real time. So how to find out the errors in less duration, that time we can just keep on open the tracer and we can monitor it background application. Okay, let's go to clipboard now. You can check the data is retrieved or not. The data will be showing into the countries, so that this is the data. Px results 1 will be also data now. This is the data structure total. Country space is already mentioned, the countries into the activity. The space will be added in code pega list class. Px results will be holds the data. Countries.px results is this much records. And what is the auto generated query? Auto generated query is nothing but you are not implemented this query. By default this query is implemented. Okay, by default this total query is implemented, that is called auto generated query. Suppose if you want to generate the query manual, you can go for generate the query manually. Okay, this is auto generated query, are very important. So clipboard, what, how much stamina, how much strength of clipboard, how many records the clipboard will be holds? 10,000 records. Okay, clipboard any records ni hold చేసుకుంటది, 10,000 records మనం స్టోర్ చేసుకోవచ్చు clipboard. More than 10,000 records is not possible. There is some px results count, how many records you retrieved now? Totally 3 records, that is the px results counts is will be holds the how many records you retrieve it. Okay, so that is what about. So this is a post query and this is a pre query. Okay, and then we can go to copying it and how to display the data into the UI. Actually the data is there in clipboard, but how to display this data into the UI. So let's go to try this and back to the UI. Open this property. Suppose if you want to populate it that all data under the country property, there is no source option here. Observe it, there is no source. How to get the source? And click on the data type here. So instead of test import data type, we can change it any one of the pickers, any drop downs, radio buttons and all. Suppose I'm click on drop down here, we'll get a source, list of source option. Here we can use any source here, any some database source, clipboard source and report definition source. As of now, clipboard as a source now. We are using for clipboard as a source. We'll discuss in coming classes how to use a source as a database and report definitions. Okay. So the clipboard page, which page the clipboard, which page holds the data in clipboard? So that is our country.px results, right? If you click on outside, you will get error. Why does this error means? Suppose if you want to access the clipboard data and compulsory, so what we need to do? We need to go for the pages and classes in section. We need to add the classes and pages. Okay, that means clipboard లో ఏ క్లాస్ లో ఏ పేజ్ లో ఏ పేజ్ క్రియేట్ అయింది అనేది మొత్తం ఇక్కడ ఇస్తేనే మనం ఇక్కడ యాక్సెస్ చేసుకోగలం డేటాని, అదర్వైజ్ ఇట్స్ నాట్ పాసిబుల్. దట్ మీన్స్ so we need to define the clipboard structure. So what are the classes and what are the pages will be holds the data. Okay, so we can just define it here. So countries.px results. Okay, one second guys. Fine, let's go to define the code. Pega list is a class. Code pega list class and country.px results, and I think there is some data class here. Yeah, SYM countries data class. Just add the class here. That is SYM, the countries data class. Let's go to countries. Then we'll back to the property again and go to design tab. Let's go to the country property again. We can select any one of the pickers, like pick the data, and here we can select the source and copy the clipboard page. When you click on outside, you will get an activity. So click on run the activity. Every time we can run the activity. So that activity will be hit the data table and the data will be loading into the clipboard under this page. So what are the activity created? Just to give that activity now. And what are the value you need to display into the UI? That's the country. That's it. This is what about that all settings, and click on save it and test it now, this logic. That's what by using an activity, what we need to do, we can do the business logic. This is a business logic. By using an activity, what we'll do, we can configure the business logic. This is the business logic. Let's go to run the case and check the data. So what are the logic you implemented? So the data will be retrieving or not, the result is getting or not. This is the total data is populated. This data is comes from where? Table. Okay, in the process. So when you select the country, how to populate states and cities, we will discuss tomorrow class. So we'll discuss the parameters, how to pass the parameters, and these are all we'll discuss, and we'll discuss tomorrow. Read it, application versioning, like what is the version of versions, major, minor, patch, and what is the rule availability and what is the rule resolution algorithm. We'll complete all concepts tomorrow class. These are tomorrow plan. మీకు వీలైతే చూడండి ఒకసారి డాక్యుమెంట్స్ టైం ఉంటే. ఓకేనా? ఎనీ క్వశ్చన్స్?
No problem.
Okay. Okay, guys. So I'm going to share it this regarding and do practice. If any doubts, then ask me tomorrow class. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Right. Okay. Bye.
Nice. Thank you.